Hi, I am your host, Leonette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors. Just give me my space to move. 'Cause it's my thoughts, what I want, and I want what I want. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show today. I have two lovely ladies with me. We have Jenna Walston. Hello, Jenna.
Hello.
And we have Amanda Walsh. Hello, Amanda.
Hello.
And today we are coming together to talk about our little babies, our children, and our school systems and alternative educations. I have conversations with people all the time about, you have one child who thrives in, public schools and everything's fine, but then you have that one child who just doesn't thrive, and trying to figure out what we can do with them, where we can put them, how can we help them. And, I'm a part of that with one of my kids. So anyways, we're going to get into that. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to have you ladies introduce yourselves. How many children do you have? And we'll get the conversation started. We'll start with you, Jenna.
Okay. My name's Jenna Walston, and I have three lovely children, a 14-year-old boy that homeschools, unschools, a 12-year-old daughter who goes to the public school. She is in 6th grade. And I have an 8-year-old daughter who also homeschools, unschools.
Did you say homeschool, unschools? Okay,
Yeah.
We'll get into that in a minute because I want to know what that means. Mm-hmm. All right, Amanda, how many children do you have?
Well, my name is Amanda Walsh, and I have two children. I have an 11-year-old who would be 5th grade, and she is homeschooled. And I have an 8-year-old who would be 2nd grade, and she's also homeschooled.
Okay. So let's get into how you all came to that decision to homeschool. And I want to know what that unschool term that you just used, Jenna, what does that mean?
So unschooling, there's all different ways to homeschool. Unschooling is one that I'm particularly interested in because I want to undo what we have taught our kids in the public school. Just by testing, fitting in a box, being judged by what you can do and also what you can't do. In unschooling, you thrive to figure out what are their strengths and you feed those rather than checking all the boxes of math, science, social studies, English. You give them what they need at that time and try to figure out what they're interested in. Then you can teach them once you figure out their interests.
So what does that look like, at your house? Like as far as you don't have like a set curriculum like they do at school?
Not at all.
Okay.
We do have set things within our week. That's important for us to have set things within the week, and we have set sleep schedules is important. So I let all my kids figure out their sleep schedule, and we didn't have any schedule to figure out what their sleep rhythm was first. Jayla needs to go to bed early and would get up early and would give me alone time with her to read with her in the morning or do whatever we need to do with no interference. Jaden would sleep till 11 or 12 and was getting nothing done, and it was getting very frustrating. So we've adjusted his time now to where he has to be up and motivated and moving by 10, and he wakes up to a list of things to do and to work on. But for the most part, his interest right now is guitar. So we are doing math with guitar, music writing, one-on-one guitar lessons. It's building up his confidence. There's just other ways to grow. Mm-hmm. So math, he's a whiz in, so he can pick up math any time of the day. I don't worry about that, but we do worry about the writing. But that's a whole nother generational thing. These kids aren't writing. Mm-hmm. They're typing, they're texting, they're talking. So I really struggle with that because everybody needs to learn how to articulate and write.
And how long have you been homeschooling the two?
Jaden, 2 years. Jayla, I homeschooled preschool, sent her in for kindergarten, and then pulled her out by 1st grade for the very reason why my two kids were taught in 1st grade about segregation and racism, and it really had a horrible impact on them, being mixed race, especially. I'll never forget when Jamie came home in first grade, and they had watched a movie of a white man shooting a black man, a slave. And she came home and was so worried that her dad was going to get picked up and carted off to jail for marrying a white woman. So I don't care for the public school systems because I don't think they're looking into the mentality of what these children can handle at that time. I also feel it separates us. It keeps them dumbed down. There's absolutely no reason to be teaching this at that age.
This was first grade?
First grade. Both my kids.
Wow.
Came home feeling dirty, disgusting, looked down on. The kids even started calling them names. It created more racial tension by teaching it at that age when they knew nothing about it. That's when the kids started saying, well, Jaden, you need to hang out with us because you're black. You don't get to hang out with the white kids. It was all taught.
Yeah.
So I saved Jayla from that, and I'll tell you, it's a huge difference emotionally and confidence-wise. She still has hers. It wasn't stripped from her, like my other two that I'm having to rebuild.
Now, why do you think it's just the two kids and Jamie's fine in public school?
Jamie is only fine in public school because she's nosy and loves the energy. She likes to see who likes who and who's wearing what.
That sounds like Corinne.
She does not.
My 10-year-old is just like that.
She needs a socialization.
Yeah,
she would struggle at home unless we had like world school or some really good friends that did it with us.
Yeah.
She needs that. My other two, not so much.
They don't need that, yeah.
No. They're fine.
And Jaden gets his socialization in any ways, like with his sports and the kids in the neighborhood. Yeah, so. How about you, Amanda? Let's talk about you and your children, and why did you decide to homeschool, and what prompted that?
Well, my oldest daughter who's 11. She's very much like Jamie is now, or she was very much like Jamie is now. She is the social butterfly. She has a core group of really good friends, and she thrives on the socialization. I'm a product of the public school system, and I feel like for me personally, it failed me. And I'm a product of the public school system here in Georgia, and which, my kids would be in the public school system in Georgia as well. So I wanted to homeschool from the very beginning. However, my husband was not on board. And so it took a little bit of time and having a child in the public school system to really bring him on board. I was telling Jenna on the way over here today how not that I convinced him or that I, duped him into coming on board with me on this, but what his light bulb moment was to support me in my wanting of homeschooling. And that is that the very beginning of my oldest daughter's first grade year, she went to school for 2 days, and then we had to pull her out because we were taking a trip to a wedding up in New York City. And it was my husband's stepbrother's wedding that we were going to. We decided that rather than flying and making a quick trip of it, we wanted to do a road trip. And so we loaded up the car, pulled my daughter out of school. My youngest was in preschool at the time. And, road tripped it up to New York. We stopped at every state line, every welcome center at the state line, picked up maps and coloring sheets. Kids learned the state bird, the state flag, state flower, any information that we could get for each state that we went through between here and New York. We stopped and spent the night near Richmond, Virginia, and kind of most of these were like driving tours through the city, but we kind of did a driving tour through Richmond, saw the Capitol and things in Richmond that are significant to our history. We stopped in Baltimore for lunch and saw the Inner Harbor area and drove around downtown Baltimore area. And then we stopped in Philadelphia and had dinner. We had a Philly cheesesteak and we drove by Independence Hall and we saw the Liberty Bell and, went to they have a big Benjamin Franklin Memorial there by the Capitol building in Philadelphia. We, went through the Capitol building and saw all that. And then we went on up to New York and spent the night in New York. And the next day in New York City, we toured around New York City. We took the Staten Island ferry and saw the Statue of Liberty, came into Times Square and walked around Times Square and Broadway. And the next day, we drove on up to near Poughkeepsie, New York, which is where the wedding was going to be. In Poughkeepsie, they have a walkway across the Hudson River, and we walked across the Hudson River. Also, the FDR Presidential Library is in Poughkeepsie, so we went and saw that, and then went to the wedding, all the festivities. On our way back, we stopped in Washington, D.C. and kind of took a car tour of Washington, D.C., saw the Capitol building, the Lincoln Memorial, the Vietnam Memorial, the Korean Memorial.
Nice.
All the things right there in the mall area. Mm-hmm. Then we stopped and spent the night in Northern Virginia. They have a natural bridge in Northern Virginia, and George Washington's initials are carved in the side of the bridge. They also have an Indian village set up in that area where the natural bridge is in the park area. And so my kids learned how to make Indian beads, what animal hides look like, how they used them. They were making moccasins and clothing and stuff, and all the handcrafts that Indians would make, pottery and that sort of stuff. And then we came on home, and I turned to my husband and I said, gosh, she learned, our kids learned so much on this trip. And I guarantee you that they learned a whole lot more on this week-long trip than they would all year sitting in a classroom. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you're kind of right. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of let her stay in school in that next year for her whole first grade year. And just seeing her, she's a bright kid, and she was already in advanced classes. But she was bored to tears because they still weren't challenging her enough. So at the end of the year, I was like, you know what? We'll just bring her home, and then I can see where she needs to be challenged and where she's going to need extra help, and we'll go from there. Nice. And so that was.
And this was how long ago?
She was first grade, and now she's fifth grade. So that was 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Mm-hmm. So what do your days look like, and what is there like an organization that you guys are plugged into, or you just do this on your own, or how does that work?
Well, so I'm not an unschooler. Mm-hmm. That doesn't mean that we have public school at home, where our schedule is not at all like public school. Okay. But we do have a certain curricula that we follow, and I too play to my kids' interests. And like this year, my 11-year-old, my fifth grader, is doing a Harry Potter curriculum. So all of her classes.
Oh my gosh, my 10-year-old would love that. Right? She's obsessed with Harry Potter right now.
It's amazing.
She's an awesome
Oh my gosh, awesome she would teacher. Love that.
So, we use a curriculum, and she has writing things that she has to do, grammar and vocabulary every day, but it's all pulled from the Harry Potter books. She's working we started on book 1 at the beginning in the fall, and now we're on book 6. Wow. And so all the vocabulary, all the writing lessons, all the writing prompts, the sentences, copywork, notebooking, everything comes from Harry Potter.
Oh my gosh!
I keep trying to talk her into letting me pay her to educate.
I know. I'm sending my child to your house because she would love that.
I know.
Oh my gosh!
And you have today, right now, my kids are home playing, literally playing lacrosse, but. This morning, as I was getting ready, Jaden was reading Jayla a book, and they were doing online schooling together. Mm-hmm. Jayla really loves it when her big brother helps. And it's good for him because it teaches him patience. Yep. Mm-hmm. Now, her kids have exact things that they're working on, and, it's totally different. And if I had her skill set, I'd probably be more like her. Yeah. But, I'm a free bird.
You are. You're a free spirit.
I go with my energy and my mojo and my gut.
So yours is more like, let's see what happens every day. But then with you, Amanda, it's a set curriculum.
Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. So each day they have a list of things that they need to do. I take Sundays, and that's my planning day for the week. And I set out what they need to do. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
I do the same, but it's much lighter. Yeah. We have something set every day. Thank God for, professionals that you can hire, that's what's my saving grace. And the one-on-one guitar lessons, Jaden, how he just started in October, and he has just really excelled.
Yeah. No, it sounds really good.
But my schedule is like a half hour of math, a half hour of reading.
Now, see, we don't spend that long on it. I mean, We are done by noon. And we start at,
Yeah.
we start
Oh, wow,
at 9
really?
o'clock
Yeah,
every
and that's
morning.
the beauty
And
of
we're
it. You
done
have
by
a whole
noon.
day ahead of
Yep.
you.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, I was going to ask that. So
Yep.
3
And that's
hours.
their attention span, don't you think, Amanda?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially
And then after
kids.
that, it's just whatever you feel like doing for the rest
Right.
of
Well,
the
my
day.
oldest is in musical theater, and she is currently rehearsing for 2 shows right now, and with 2 different companies. So she is busy, busy, busy. She has rehearsal every night of the week. And after we're done with school, a lot of the times she will go into we have kind of a basement room that has some wide open space. So she'll go down into our basement room and rehearse her voice,
Nice.
pieces and her dancing pieces and that, but she does that all on her own. And she, she'll rehearse, she'll take that time to rehearse.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest is more of a free bird. She's like, I'll, play video games or I'll, whatever. And I allow them, as long as their schoolwork is done, I allow them screen time and whatever they, whatever they want to do. But yeah, we're done by noon, and today I'm taking a little bit of time out this morning. So I told them, I was like, we'll do math because I teach math. I actually physically teach math. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay, we'll do math this afternoon. But that's the beauty of homeschool is she doesn't have to be in math, or my kids don't have to be in math
at a certain time.
11:45 or
exactly.
till 12:36 or whatever it is.
So I'm gonna speak on behalf of the naysayers, and so people hearing this and they're just like, "There's no possible way that you can teach kids in 3 hours." And who do you answer to, and how do you know that they're doing well? Like, what do you say to those people? Because I'm sure they're out there like, "There's no way."
You start.
So homeschooling is not about teaching facts. Mm-hmm. It's not about making sure they know when the Civil War was. My youngest daughter's working on the Civil War right now. Mm-hmm. It's not about knowing when the Civil War was or when, whatever point in history, or knowing how to write necessarily a proper sentence. The gist of homeschooling is to teach them how to find the answers. Mm-hmm. You see, you and I, being adults, are not in school anymore, yet we can still learn.
Yeah.
We can still learn a new skill.
Yeah.
A new
like,
way
I had to learn how to do this.
Right?
I didn't know what I was doing. I'm like, we're just going to figure this out. And this is where we are, yeah.
And you've been taught how to learn.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing with my kids. Okay. I'm teaching them how to learn and how to find the answers.
Yes.
Answers are at our disposal. Mm-hmm. Now in this day and age with technology, we can find an answer to anything. How many times are you going, gosh, I wonder, what that bird is called?
And you look it up.
Look it up. Mm-hmm. You pull out your phone, you open Google or whatever, and you look it up.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm teaching them how to do, is not to necessarily know all the facts.
Yeah.
You asked who we have to answer to.
Is there
So each state in this country is different. In the state of Georgia, we have to answer to the Georgia Department of Education.
Okay.
We have to fill out what's called the Declaration of Intent at the beginning of the school year whenever we start homeschooling. It's
every year?
Every year.
Okay.
So, we declare to the state, hey, I'm homeschooling my child. I'm not sending them to public school. I'm not sending them to private school. I'm homeschooling them. Other than that, in the state of Georgia, we don't really have to do a whole lot. Mm-hmm. We do have to test a standardized test in 3rd grade, in 6th grade, and in 9th grade.
Okay.
And then a graduation test after 12th grade.
Wow.
But we don't turn that information into anybody. We keep it for our
That's what
records.
I was just going to say. That sounds great, and everybody's like, oh. And then you're like, but we don't have to turn it in.
Yep.
So they take the test because you have to, I'm sure if they came after you like, hey, you have to show proof that they took these tests, and no one's looking at grades or anything like that.
Nope. And we are, once you declare that you're homeschooling your children, you are declared a school.
Okay.
So, and I put that in quotes because we're not actually officially a school, but you are considered in the state of Georgia a school, and you can create your own child's transcripts.
Really?
Yes. You can issue a diploma after 12th grade.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Because what if they want to go off to college? You have to show all of that.
And colleges right now are seeking homeschoolers because they are free thinkers and self-reliant. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So another thing for naysayers with homeschooling, where when James and I decided to do this, we're both entrepreneurs, we're both forward thinkers, and we had decided that 85% of the jobs that our kids will be going after are not even in existence at this point. We are moving so fast in a direction that old school thinking is not going to allow you to make a living or a career. So I say people need to, if they want to be on the forward thinking part, you need to think differently. And taking up 8 hours a day of my kid's life is not okay with me.
Right.
No, I love that because, so I have 3 kids. If you've been listening to the podcast, you know I have my 3 kids, but our middle child is a son, and he just turned 13 a few weeks ago. But in 3rd grade, that's when, like, he's a quiet child. He shuts down if he gets overwhelmed. So
He needs smaller settings.
Yeah, he needs smaller settings. So he was in private school, 1st and 2nd. And then when we moved to this side of town, everyone raved about the elementary public school here. And so we pulled him out of, private school. We wanted to save some money and we put him there. It was the worst mistake that we could have made for him. The teachers didn't know what to do with him. Like, it was like this big thing. And then in 4th grade, like, his 3rd grade teacher was horrible, had 0 patience for him. And then in 4th grade, I mean, it was like back and forth emails all the time. He's shutting down. He's this, he's that. And I'm just like,
emotionally, he regressed.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. His emotional state was so sad. 10 years old, saying he was stupid, like he's not good enough, that he doesn't want to live anymore. It was horrible. And my husband and I we have that old school mentality of like, tough it out. We did it and look at us, And it's like, no, you can't do that with every child. And he's a sensitive soul. And we're fortunate to have the means to put him in private school. So we found one that is amazing because they don't look at they don't do a ton of testing, which I love.
Yep.
They do a lot of, he has a holistic wellness class.
Yes.
I'm like, what do you do in that class, Khalil? Well, we meditate and we do yoga and we learn how to, deal with stress. I'm like, I love this. And it's just like a lot of arts and crafts and
hands-on learning.
Yeah. And like his writing, that was one of the things that he's not good at all. He's very black and white. Don't ask him to be creative and imagine a world of dragons and rainbows and unicorns because he doesn't want to write a story about that.
Right.
Like it's either let's write about facts or let's write about football. Like don't have me like create something out of thin air. That's just not. But then he would get in trouble for not writing anything.
Right. When his brain just doesn't work like that.
And so they would get so upset. Like, what's wrong with him? Like, how come he's not writing? He's just sitting there looking at his paper. And so we snatch him out real quick. If it weren't for the fact that we can afford private, I'm 100% sure that I would have to homeschool. There's no way in the world I would have kept him in that environment.
Right.
Like his emotional state is so much more important to me, and his emotional health and well-being is so more important to me than going and sitting there and learning crap.
Right.
So one of the beauties,
and he doesn't fit in that box of, he's abnormal because everyone else is doing it and not him. And he's thriving. Like today, Jenna, he doesn't talk a lot. This morning, I don't know. He was just, and when I say, Amanda, if you met him, you would think something's up. Like, what's wrong with this child? He doesn't speak. He's just very one-word answers. This boy was like talking my ear off, and it's because he loves going there because they're not a typical.
They're building his confidence.
Yeah, they're not a typical school where you're just sitting around like learning to take the stupid damn standardized tests that they do in public schools. Like that's all they do.
And public school, especially here in the state of Georgia, is all about the test.
Yes.
And that's all they cater to. They don't care about the kids. They don't.
Get them ready, get them ready for this test.
It is the test.
Yeah.
And it is how can we get this child to test well so that we can make our numbers, so that we can get the funding that we need to get.
Exactly.
So I'm dealing with that right now.
I know you are.
Jamie in middle school.
Yeah.
Her grades are horrific. Why? because emotionally we're all struggling right now. So, part of my homeschooling curriculum is I went to the beach for 30 days. We did emotional regulation every single day for 30 days to try to figure out what we're feeling, how to tend to those emotions. And while we were down there, we went places, learned so much. So like Amanda was saying, so what if my kids are playing today? When we go, we learn so much that they can afford to play and just have fun. So the thing that I heard you say that made me go, ooh, we got to talk about that is emotions. You cannot teach to somebody who does not feel emotionally well, especially put down or afraid to answer questions. So with Jamie right now in school, I have meetings with 9 of her teachers every 2 weeks right now because her grades. And all we're talking about is testing. Not what she's learned, not what she hasn't learned. And they told me I can have an open notebook test with her, keep her home that day. She can do it at home, and I can even help her to keep her out of summer school. Really? I said, so you want her to have an open book test so she can get a good score. You don't care if she's learning. No, we want her to do well. Now she struggles, and we're looking into tier 3 right now for her. So ultimately, I think she would do better homeschooling, but she's got to get there on her own. I got to support her. But, but that is exactly what it's about. It's all about the numbers. They did not care about her. Now they did say, when I took her to the beach for a month, they were very happy because they knew emotionally she was struggling. And they did say when we came back, it was a night and day difference.
Really?
Night and day difference.
No, I mean, that's so important. And I don't want to bash all public school teachers because I'm sure there's some that are
It's not the teachers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It
is. It's a system. And also, if you go, because I used to volunteer in these classrooms, it's a lot.
It is.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
There's 25 kids, and when he was in 4th grade, that class was horrendous.
Oh, I can imagine.
To the point where the teacher, she not resigned, but she went into retirement after that year to stay home with her one child who was in middle school. I would have retired too, because I would go in there and it was a lot. And she was the sweetest thing. She tried her best. And I was just this is not working for me, and then my youngest, who is in public school, she fits in that little box, she just knows what to do. And so we've had 0 problems with her. But now, since COVID has come around and she's been home a lot, she wants to homeschool. And so
my
next question is the patience part, because I lack that. I'm trying really, really, really hard to be more patient. But how do you, is that something natural that comes to you, is to be patient?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Who does?
Right?
Well, I mean, there's some women that are just calm and they speak real soft.
You're
right. That's not my personality.
No, mine neither.
I'd be what are you doing?
I mean, there are days that, and especially when I first brought my oldest home, my youngest was still in preschool, and I had a good 2 years with my oldest before my youngest started kindergarten. And I sent her to preschool so that I did have that time to focus on my older daughter. But there were days that I was and if you can't manage this, well, I can take you right up to the school and sign you up. I mean, there was one day that I was all right, get up, get dressed. We're going up to school right now. So,
girl, I picked up the phone one time and pretended to call.
Right?
I said, I need to speak to the principal.
Yeah. We're enrolling you today.
Can we get Jayla a desk today?
Okay, good.
So no, those parents who have that fear of, oh my gosh, I don't think that I can have the patience to do this. We all have to learn that. All of us. I mean, it's something that every one of us starting out has to do. And one thing that I recommend to parents who are first pulling their kids out of school or wanting to homeschool them from the get-go is not as much, but pulling out of school for sure, is called deschooling. And deschooling is the concept of you do no work for about 30 days.
Oh,
no
really?
schooling after you pull them out for about 30 days.
Okay.
Because you've got to change those habits. It's all about that emotional regulation and changing the habits, and deschooling unteaching them what they learned in public school. And I'm not talking about the facts of, history or science or whatever. I'm talking about the fact that you have to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to get on the bus at 7 to be at school in your desk at 8 o'clock or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to unlearn how to walk in a line or to wait your turn for the teacher to pay you attention.
You're a number. And you become a number.
And don't you dare talk. And don't you dare speak. Right. And don't you dare look sideways.
Right. So deschooling is very important for those who are wanting to homeschool.
Okay, I've never heard of that. Mm-hmm. So you take them out and you do
just
nothing.
No work, you play, you go visit
and some
your
people
local...
say to deschool 6 months to a year, depending on how old they are.
Really?
Yeah, because like Jaden was older, so he was programmed.
Yeah.
Big time. He still struggles, with it, but he 100% needed longer. Jayla, it was a piece of cake because she wasn't in long.
Right.
But yeah, just that mentality
That's
of
interesting.
go, ring the bell,
Yes.
go, ring the bell. You got to eat in this amount of time.
I was going to say, you have 30 seconds to eat all this food.
You get to go to the bathroom when you need to.
Yes.
Not ask permission, just all of it.
All the things.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I'm at that point because even though our youngest is fine, she's just, I think COVID kind of changed how she looks at school and how I'm looking at school. Like right now, I'm like, you just have to finish out the school year.
Yeah.
Like every morning she's like, do I have to go? She's never done that before. She's like, this year just kind of changed how she thinks.
Though, I think it's because the kids needed it though, don't you?
I think
she likes being around.
She likes being here. She likes being at home. She likes doing her stuff at her own time. So like now Gwinnett County, which is the county that we live in, for those who are not in Georgia, but they've had a few virtual days, and on those days they don't have to log in. They're just doing their work on their own. She loves that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, because she wasn't doing what she was supposed to when we were all home, when everyone was home and we were doing all virtual. She wasn't getting her work done, so I'm getting emails from the teachers, and she's very capable of doing that. I don't need to be, on her butt about it, but I guess I do because, she can get, a little lazy. But I told her, I'm like, listen, I'll think about it, but I need you to be more disciplined because I think I would do more like what you're doing, Amanda. I would do a curriculum because I needed that. Well, and me too, because I can be more like Jenna, a free spirit. Sure. That's who I am in my soul.
That's why we hired places like Gymnasium.
So I'm like, I need someone to tell me what to do because otherwise I don't know what to do. So I'm considering it. And then I see how Khalil's thriving. And even though she really doesn't need to be in a private school, the stuff that they're doing is just so, I just love it. And I'm like, why does he get to benefit and not her, from that
but they're
holistic wellness?
They're different kids.
I know, but I want her to experience that as well. So I'm kind of like in limbo right now.
There's groups. I met Amanda and met with her when I was thinking about it. A mutual friend of ours put us in touch, and she was like, you need to speak to Amanda because I needed that courage to go pull the kids out of school and say I can homeschool, and just meeting with a friend who's doing it like we are right now and discussing it. Right. Your eyes and mind's probably much more open after hearing what they mean.
It is, actually.
But here's the beauty of it. Amanda just put out, thankfully for technology, a Facebook group that we belong to with her. It's a co-op.
Okay.
And we read a book every week and we get together every Thursday. It's
as the moms
and the kids
too. Okay.
The kids read the book.
Okay.
And then we have a little discussion about the book. So it's kind of like a book club, where we discuss the book. And then we do a little craft or a little activity that kind of sends that information home, with them. Like I feel like putting hands on things.
Yes.
Like Jenna just led our group last week on the Titanic.
Oh, fun.
And so we had a little discussion about some of the facts of the Titanic. Then we had snow cones for icebergs.
Oh, fun.
So that they kind of got to see what a small iceberg looked like, in their snow cone. And then they learned more facts about icebergs. So.
And then I also did a little sneak on that class and had the iceberg for emotional regulation and gave it to the parents if they wanted to go home and utilize it with their kids, because there's so much information out there that the kids don't know what they're feeling. You and I can wake up and be angry. We don't know why until we pause and be like, what is going on? What am I so frustrated about? And we can process that, but kids can't. They wake up angry and they roll with it.
Yeah.
Until you slow them down and say, what's really going on? You know, let's look at this iceberg. What words click with you right now?
Yeah.
And Jayla can point one or two out, and it's totally opposite of what I thought she was thinking. Completely opposite.
Yeah.
And then you go to another one. What is it that you need? Do you need alone time? Do you need hugs? What do you need? And she highlights what she needs. Blown away. Totally opposite of what I thought she was needing. So I'm still at 8 years old, you know, trying to figure my own child out. And it's because she hasn't been forthcoming because she doesn't know how to articulate it. Not that I haven't given her the time. Right. We need to give the kids the tools.
Yeah.
For sure.
And that's, I mean, and this is her being at home. Imagine if she was at school all day.
Oh my God.
So here's the crazy.
What do you think? It would be very different.
I'm going to let you know because she's going to school next year.
She is?
She's dead set.
She wants to?
You know, we'll see.
Really?
I got to support it. And
so what is she saying? What is she saying about?
She wants friends. She needs more friends.
Yeah.
She needs more activity. She's just a little bored, you know? But here's the thing. There are so many more groups I could get involved in, but I've got a 14-year-old.
Yeah.
So like, there's a horseback riding group. There's a roller hockey group during the day that I signed her up for, but it ended up being on Thursdays and I was not willing to give up our book club. So that was a donation to the roller hockey team.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. But I think I was just telling Amanda on the way over here, I'm upset because I don't have the support of my spouse anymore. You know, we're separated at this point. And I have to fulfill his wishes as well. And I think this is the easiest way to do it for right now. And I'm going to take advantage of their testing. I did talk to the principal. She knows my issues with Jaden and Jamie. Luckily, it's the same principal. And I said, I'll let her come. But on the weeks that we're teaching about segregation and all of that stuff, I want her pulled out and give her something else. And they agreed.
Okay.
So I will be on top of the curriculum on what they learn. And maybe my new calling will be to help change the curriculum in the schools to get it out of there.
Yeah.
And more appropriate age, like higher end middle school, high school is when that should be talked about when people can emotionally handle it, not in first and second grade.
Yeah.
So who knows where it's going to lead me, but right now that is the plan. But I was telling her, I'm like, I want to join so many things because I know there's friends out there and she would be fine if we had something every day.
Yeah.
Every day, if we could just meet at a park or meet at a jumpy place or meet at a bookstore, she would be content.
Well, that's what I would need because Corinne is also very social.
And there are a ton of groups out there.
Yeah.
For every county in Georgia, just about, there's a group for every, I'm a part of so many homeschool groups. It's the Atlanta area homeschool group, the
secular
Roswell,
homeschool.
Roswell homeschool group.
So you all like come together, the kids can interact.
Yeah, there's different activities or even just seeking advice. You know, those people are always out there.
Especially with curriculums.
Yes.
Because there's so many out there people will say, and they're very various in price range. Like what Jaden and Jayla are on with math right now is $10 a month. Okay. It keeps
There's
track
some
of
free
everything.
free curriculums out there. There's some that cost $1,000 a year or more. You know, I mean, it's just all in what your child needs and what you can afford, number one, and what your child needs, number two.
That's something to think about because she's a happy child, but the fact that she's because she stayed home the first half of the school year, she said she didn't have any friends. I'm like, you've been there since kindergarten. I'm sure you know some people. But, you know, even though she's outgoing, she's like, I'm kind of shy and all this stuff. So I have to listen. Just because she's a strong, independent child, I have to listen to what she's saying instead of ignoring it. So I need to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, my 8-year-old Larkin, she when I put Rowan in kindergarten, we had just moved to the area, and she met so many. She's my social butterfly. She met so many friends, and she still has a lot of those friends today. Okay. She joined a Girl Scout troop, and they're still all together. In fact, we were supposed to have a meeting yesterday, but Mother Nature decided that wasn't going to happen.
Yes.
But so I wanted that for my youngest, and I put her in kindergarten thinking that, you know, we'd find the same things. She would make tons of friends. She'd join a Girl Scout troop and it would be all, you know, hunky-dory. Well, that was not the case. That taught me really quickly how different my children really were.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And she hated going to school.
Okay.
She would wake up every morning, and she wakes up grumpy every morning anyway.
Okay.
And so she'd wake up every morning and just fight me on going to school. I mean, she'd be standing at the bus stop in tears.
Really?
Just
trying to go to, going to school. And once she got there, she was okay. But I feel like, I went a couple of times on days where they were having, parent activity, whatever. And I feel like she was just going through the motions.
Because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, like she wasn't really present.
Yes.
She was just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And by Valentine's Day, that first year in kindergarten, I pulled her out of school. I was like, nope, we're done. This is not for her.
Yeah.
And she met a couple of friends that she's still kind of friends with. She did join a Girl Scout troop, but they have 3 members. And, it's like she made one good friend and that's about it. She's just not the social butterfly like Rowan is.
Yeah.
But
And that's okay.
I was going to say, Amanda, don't you think, though, since COVID started, that the groups are going to get bigger? The presence is going to be
the homeschool market, the homeschool community, thank you, that's the word I was looking for, has exploded since COVID. Exploded.
Because you think moms we're sitting at home thinking, okay, this has to change.
Yeah, well, that, and I think that doing the public school, trying to bring it home on a virtual platform was just not... It doesn't work well.
Yeah.
And there are virtual public schools that even before COVID, you could become a part of.
Okay.
But I have never heard anything positive about them.
Yeah.
If you homeschool, you don't want to bring homeschool and duplicate school in your home.
Yeah.
Right.
Homeschool is a totally different thing.
It's a lifestyle change for sure.
And how can we expect kids to sit in front of a computer?
Well, because that's what it is. Virtual is literally you have the same hours and the same, this is when you have math and this is, it's the same thing except you're on the computer. I walk in there. I used to walk in there. She looked bored out of her mind. I'm like, no wonder she's not completing. And then it was also difficult too. She's like, I thought I submitted it and I don't know where the work is. Like, cause it's so complicated too. It's something that I need to think about for sure.
She would be a great homeschooler because she gets her work done now, like you were just saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's what homeschoolers really teach that's what they take away from homeschooling is, self-reliance, self-independence, the fact that, my husband works from home. That's, for the last, I don't even know, for 20 years. He owned his own business for a little while. He's worked for other companies. And I would say probably 80% of the last 20 years, he's been at home or had a home office. And that's what we're teaching the kids. I could never work from home because I don't have that kind of discipline. I would be up cleaning the kitchen or mopping the floors instead of doing the job.
What you're supposed to be doing,
So he has that discipline. And I feel like that's what we're teaching our kids is that discipline. Because really that's what we're moving into. Nobody's going to be working in an office in our kids' future. It's all going to be remote. It's all going to be on the computer. And like Jenna said, the jobs that our kids are going to be seeking aren't even out there yet.
Yeah.
My husband, when he started, he's in the IT industry. And when he started in the IT industry, he was a consultant setting up networks. And now he's an IT security.
Okay.
So, and he does sales. He would have that job didn't even exist.
Yeah.
When he first started in IT because security was not a thing. People weren't necessarily taking advantage. We all saw the War Games movie, but that was so far-fetched then. It's not so much now.
It's like reality now.
Right.
Yeah. Those are some good points. And honestly, there's so many households that are going through the same conflict in their mind. What do we do? Where do we send them? Because I'm going to have more of these shows because there's so many stories of what happened in public school, all the decisions, that I had to make in order to look out for my child's emotional needs. And that's really the bottom line.
First and foremost.
Yeah.
Gotta have that in check.
Yeah, that's so important. And every child's different. So man, they keep us on our toes, don't they?
And think about how strong your relationship with your child is after they've been home.
Yeah.
You really get to know your child for better or for worse, and our job as parents is to help make them better people. getting to know your child. I heard especially at the beginning of COVID, I heard so many parents say, gosh, they need to get back in the school because I can't stand them anymore. And
Yes.
I'm like, I think to myself, that is so sad.
That is very sad. I said the same thing. I didn't say that about my kids. I loved it.
Oh, I thought
No. I was saying the same thing because I kept hearing the same stuff, and I'm just like, I love it. I love being home.
But we're all in very nice positions.
Well, yeah.
Whatever we are, that have to work, that are losing money, can't keep a roof over their head.
Yeah, but these were for moms.
And when these kids are at home, they eat 24/7.
No, these were for moms that are doing just as well, and they wanted their kids back in school. So I said, I like my kids, and if they know me, I tell them, get out my face. I have no problems telling them to go away and figure it out. I'm bored. Okay. Let me throw all your toys away and everything you own, and then you'll know what boredom feels like.
My kids know not to say that they're bored in my house because I'll put them to work.
And it's really the little one. I'm like, say that one more time. And she knows I'm serious too, and she hasn't said it anymore. I said, I will take all that stuff and I will burn it. I will burn it.
Yep.
But so I'm in the same boat as you, man. Now I'm like, I'm fine. I like my kids.
Yep.
They're a joy to be around.
Yeah. I mean, I still can't even believe that my 11-year-old is 11 and my 8-year-old is 8. I mean, the last, 11
mine
years
just turned 20
have gone
on Thursday.
I can't even imagine.
20. And I was looking back and I was like, how did that go by so quickly?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're going through it, it doesn't feel, there's some days where I'm like, oh my gosh, just grow up already.
Yep.
But now that she's there, she's 20 years old.
It makes you want to slow down.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. And then the 13-year-old is going to be 18 pretty soon. And then 10, it turns into 18.
Mm-hmm.
So I did my podcast last week about just living in the moment and cherishing every moment because it's the truth.
Yep.
And they're going to be gone. And we're hoping that they can go out into the world happy, independent, emotionally stable.
Right.
And sitting in a classroom learning science and social studies and taking all the tests is not, I think,
stifling in this world.
Yeah.
It worked back then. It
doesn't work anymore.
No.
It doesn't work anymore. I'm excited for my kids and your kids and anybody who does this and sees the difference. Like you've got Khalil where he thrives.
Yep.
Yes.
That's the key.
Yeah.
Get them where they thrive, and it doesn't have to be with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
But it also breaks my heart because, like you said, we have the means to either do private or stay home. There's so many families, single moms, that don't have that luxury.
They don't.
That are in the same boat. But what are they going to do? Something has to change in the system.
They do.
Because we don't all have the luxury of picking one or the other.
Right.
So someone could be listening to this and like, yeah, that sounds wonderful, Amanda and Jenna. But what am I supposed to do? I have to work.
Right.
My child, there was one girl that worked up at our office. She's not there anymore, but she's a single mom. And the school was always calling her. He's doing this or he's doing that and then it's like, oh my gosh, this poor girl has to work. Mm-hmm. What is she supposed to do? Mm-hmm. He has to stay in the private or in the public school system. So something has to change.
It does.
It absolutely has to change because we don't all have the means for, taking them out and homeschooling and traveling. And we're fortunate that we can do that. But unfortunately, there's so many that cannot.
Well, we all also know that public school systems are different depending on the demographics.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, our area, we have lots of volunteers.
Yes.
Sometimes you can't even get in if you don't act quick enough.
Yeah.
And there are other schools that are
struggling.
All single parents struggling.
Yep.
There's nobody showing up to help.
Nope.
And they still have just as many kids as the other classes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then these kids fall through the cracks and then they grow up to be, heathens, quote unquote heathens. It's like, well, why? What happened that they became this way? You're not born that way. It's your environment.
Exactly.
So I don't know. I don't know how it's going to change. I mean, the U.S. is a big country. Mm-hmm. How are you going to change the system?
But there are changes happening and people are noticing. We have a new superintendent in our county, in Fulton County, that came from Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And he
seems like a really good person.
He is doing some wonderful things that I'm interested in. Like he got all of the slavery and all that moved out of elementary schools in his state. So now that he's here, I'm very hopeful that he's passionate about that and going to get it out of ours.
Yeah.
Because the racial issue is huge. It's very raw right now. It's very real. Kids are learning from their parents and bringing it into school.
Yeah.
I think it's is quite disgusting.
Yeah.
And I want to keep my kids out.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't belong in elementary schools. And then you bring the homework home, and then you get the parents' opinion. And then the kids come back all cocky, like, Jaden's a N-word, or,
Oh, yeah.
or he's dirty, or,
Or on the flip side, you get the homework comes home and the parents don't know how to, especially like in math, I hear that a lot. The parents don't know how to help the kids. And so they're struggling just as much.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
I was teaching them how I was taught, which is in dinosaur years.
Right.
They have no clue what you're doing. And I just had my oldest, I'm like, go ask your sister.
Yeah.
she know, literally, I'm like, that's not how I learned it. They have little boxes, and I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
Just
I carry the 1 and the 2, and they're like, what is that, Mommy? We don't do it like that. I'm like, well, I don't know how to help you.
It's a different language. Last night we were talking to Jayla about math, and I tried to use simple numbers like 10% of $10,000, right?
Yeah.
What is that? Mm-hmm. And so she's like, couldn't figure it out. I'm like, here's 10 fingers, right? Mm-hmm. And take away 1. What is this? She's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, 10 squares. Take away 1 square. She's like, 1,000. But I had to talk squares, not fingers.
No, you can't do fingers anymore.
Yeah,
sorry,
no,
China.
it's over.
I'm
officially old.
No more carrying ones and taking away.
But you start talking the bricks and the blocks and the squares, and you're like, oh yeah,
that makes more sense.
That. Yeah.
So I love this conversation. Like I said, I'm going to have more shows about education because I just feel like it's so important. We're not alone in this.
Right.
And do you guys have anything else you want to contribute to this topic before we get out of here?
The only thing that I would want to contribute is one of the other biggest questions in the homeschool community is the socialization question. Mm-hmm. And it is of my opinion that a bunch of kids learning how to be, let's say, 8 years old in a classroom with other 8-year-olds is not how we should be socialized. Mm-hmm. My 8-year-old learns from my 11-year-old.
Yeah.
My 11-year-old teaches some things that she knows or that she's learned to my 8-year-old. Mm-hmm. And that's the way that it should be.
Yeah.
We have different groups that have a variety of ages. The group that Jenna and I are part of has kindergarten age all the way up to 3rd grade, 4th grade age kids. And they all learn together. They all learn from each other.
They're not worried about how old one kid is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like, you can't play with us.
They're just all playing together.
Yeah. And, I've started another group for my 11-year-old who she's actually the youngest in the group, which is a different dynamic for her because she's the oldest at our house. So she has kids that are all the way up to, I think, 16 in her group.
Oh, nice.
So they all learn from each other. Mm-hmm. They all, and they, learn, not only do they learn the things that we're teaching them, the subjects, the science, the history, the whatever, that we're teaching them in those co-ops, but they're learning how to be 11 and 13 and from other kids that are older and have been there, and not always just learning from me.
Yeah.
Also going to like the grocery store with them or going into a setting with adults. They know how to sit and interact with adults as well. And that's one thing that I feel is missing from school setting, brick and mortar school setting type classrooms is they don't necessarily learn how to interact with adults.
Yeah.
Socializing to me is not forcing a bunch of kids in one room to get along.
Right.
Socializing is being able to tolerate difficult people.
Yes.
Being able to uplift people. Being able to, tap in.
Right.
That's what's missing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, as well. Absolutely.
And that's a good point, though, because going back to Corinne, because she's the one that's in our public school right now, so that's who I can relate to. But she doesn't have a social life at school, she's saying, this year.
A lot of them don't.
Yeah, she's just like, there's no one to talk to at lunch. There's no one to play with at recess. She's like, so what's the point? They're just really going in, learning their stuff. They're not really socializing. And especially now with the masks wearing, like they really can't touch each other. They can't see each other's faces. So it's just, it's a different, I think this has really changed how she sees school because it's very militant.
Yeah.
Very, and now with COVID, it's even more strict than what it was before. So, you kind of feel sorry for them. You're right. So socializing, you can socialize anywhere. She loves playing with her brother.
Right.
They hang out.
They have sports.
Yeah.
They have Girl Scouts. They have other activities. Swim team. Whatever you want to get your kids in.
Exactly.
Tennis. Whatever.
We do swim team. We do dance class. My oldest is in two musical theater shows.
Yeah.
They have friends. They socialize. They're each in their own co-ops. We came from a larger co-op that went away because of COVID and is not coming back. I'm so sad. They just made that announcement. We've made friends all along the way. We have 4 homeschool families in our neighborhood. So we all get together and 2 of the kids are a little bit younger than my 8-year-old, so they're on either side, 7 and 9, and they live down the street. They're always at each other's house. They're always at our house, or my kids are always at their house playing.
Just hanging out.
And do you guys ever hey, why don't you teach my kids this day and I'll teach your kids the next? Do you guys ever do that?
No, because we're on totally different curriculums.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's kind of cool then.
Yep.
Yeah.
And probably time.
Sure.
If I was homeschooling, I would be all over the
You know you would.
I'm like, at 9 o'clock, we're going to learn this, and then we're going to take 3 hours of break, and then at 1 o'clock,
We're going to siesta.
I was just going to say, we're going to take a little siesta, and then we'll reconvene at 2.
And there's nothing wrong with that lifestyle.
Exactly.
Someone has to live it.
That's
right.
true.
Like, seriously, we all think the last thing that I was thinking about that we didn't talk about is college. People think homeschool kids how are they going to get into college and da-da-da-da-da. Me doing hair for 28 years, I got to see a lot of homeschool families because they would come in with their kids during the day and we'd all be like, what the hell are those kids doing here?
Yeah.
Right.
Why aren't they in school?
Yeah.
Messing up our day,
Yeah.
But it was obvious when kids are out during the day, especially, we're talking 20 years ago. I had clients that were
for sure.
Like 20 years ago when they were homeschooling.
Yep.
All of my homeschool kids, and I feel really old saying this, are now graduated from college.
Yep.
Okay.
Married, children on the way, world travelers, extremely successful.
Yep.
And they graduated from college 2 years earlier than anybody else because they had the time to excel and take college courses when they were 14 and 15.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's another thing that needs to be squashed.
So do they have to take the SAT before, like anybody else as a homeschooler?
Absolutely.
And a lot of them can get their
knock it out.
scores and make it into college.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Let's just think about the testing in the school systems.
Yeah.
You study for it. And you
Yeah,
pass.
pretty much.
Oh yeah, it's
That's a
it's
good
memorization.
Point. That's a good point, Jenna. Yeah.
So they have courses out there. Like let's say Jaden's very interested in medical, right? He wants to do surgeries and stuff. So outside of Discovery Science Center, where he's already done a pig brain and a chicken heart and none of his other kids have done that hands-on in school. Well, he's already looking into something. There's another school over in Roswell that's medical only for high school kids.
Really?
And they can get a 2-year jump on college.
That is so cool.
So what do? We have 1 year to look into it. We have to study to get his grades up to a certain point. But homeschooling, I knocked out all of 3rd grade reading and math for Jayla in 4 months. Because we focused on it and she excelled. So now going back to school in 3rd grade, when I was talking to the principal, she was like, so, where is she at? And I said, well, she's already in 3rd grade. So she might be in advanced 3rd grade where before she wasn't.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? And I was like, I hired a teacher at her level.
Okay.
And she would go online and they would read and write. And there was 4 other girls that she knew in the class. And the other girls were going to school full time. This was their extra work.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Jayla was just doing that for homeschool, and these 4 girls had been in school for 8 hours and were doing more.
To do that. Oh,
Yeah. But it was enough to satisfy us.
Yeah.
And her spelling's immaculate, her writing's immaculate, and people think because I'm an unschooler, you can still excel in such a short amount of time.
Yep.
Such a short amount of time.
Yeah.
Because nothing's in your way.
And you're giving them a love for learning,
So when I say a half hour on their math thing, now if I had said an hour, they would be grueling from the moment they started. At least give me 30 minutes. Sometimes they're on an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other times they're on for 20 minutes and can't make it to 30.
It just depends.
But it just depends on them. And that's the beauty of homeschooling is you don't like to do stuff when you're not in the mood.
No.
But when you are, do you not knock it out of the park?
Yeah.
So wait till they're in the mood.
Yeah.
There's always something else that you can learn through crafting. We do a ton of art. Well, you were down at the beach.
Yes.
We do a ton of artwork.
Yeah.
And that's therapeutic.
Yes. Yeah.
And everybody enjoyed that. So, right now, I think if people were to say, what did you study this year? Since we don't have a whole lot of, gosh, we do though, because this past year. I guess what I'm trying to say is because my schedule is so light, it feels like we're not doing anything, where they have excelled so much in this past year.
Yeah.
Emotionally, life skills, we have nailed out of the park this year, where I know they're going to go into adulthood with more understanding, compassion, empathy, and that's what we need.
Yeah. And like you said, Amanda, in the beginning, is we can learn stuff as adults.
Right.
So as long as you're an emotionally stable human being,
Yep.
all this other stuff you're going to learn along the way.
Like, and you're
and
going
if
to
you
learn
want to.
if you want to.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't want to learn, what happened during the history is not my strong suit. I was never big into history. So if you don't want to learn what happened in the founding of this country or when Christopher Columbus came over, don't learn about it.
Well, that's why Jamie's failing. She's tired of learning about death.
Yeah.
She's tired of learning about tragedies. And so she'll open up, oh God, shut it.
Yeah.
Don't want to read that. And she blows it off.
Yeah.
Because she's sensitive. It keeps her up at night. She has dreams. Like, why are we teaching them all this terrible, awful stuff when she's not interested?
Yeah.
That's where the school systems could do better.
Yeah.
Come middle school, if you're a history girl or you're a history boy, bump it on them.
Right.
If you're not, let them off the hook and push them towards whatever they're
interested
in.
Yeah.
Even if it's art. I mean, or music, or plays, or
that's
science.
That's what my oldest, she's 20, she's an artist.
Yeah.
She's a writer, and she's at college at an awesome school where that's all they do.
Yeah.
It's not a, quote unquote, typical university.
Yeah.
They concentrate on drawing and writing and all of the stuff that she loves.
Yeah.
So,
and we can't all be good at everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're trying to teach our kids that you must be good at everything. And that's setting them up for failure in life.
Yep.
Like the other day, Corinne's like, are B's good? Because I have straight B's. I'm like, that's amazing. You're kicking butt. I'm not going to push the straight A thing. It's like, as long as you're doing your best, that's all that I can ask for. A few years ago, when my oldest was younger, I was so like, you got to get good grades. And then she's my first child. And I was so young when I had her. And I loved school growing up, and I think it was more of an escape for me because we moved all the time. And so I just like to learn. And that was just like my happy place was learning. But, with her, I was just, I was like a little monster. And, but why? Like
Because that's what you knew.
Like,
that's what
but why? Like, it's like, just let them be who they are. Let them learn. And so I've learned from that. And so now the third one gets that more chill side of me.
Right.
Where it's like, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Now, if you're slacking and you're being, lazy and you're just not trying, then we'll have a conversation.
Story.
But straight B's are awesome. Yes.
They are.
Yeah. Because, that's what they push in private school or public schools. They're just pushing that. In private school, I don't even know what grades are. The main thing is like, okay, he didn't finish his work. Like, he has to turn something in. But other than that, they don't really care about grades.
Yeah. And
they're not calling me about grades. It's just like, hey, he forgot to turn that in. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. And that's what we do, in homeschooling. I don't ever grade my kids' stuff. I mean, as long as they do the work, that's all I care about. But they've got to put the work in.
Yeah. They have to put the work in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being around to be able to pay attention to what they want to put the work into.
Right.
Yeah.
Like watching the landing of Mars.
Oh, yeah.
Jayla is blown away by it now.
Yeah.
So guess what we're learning about now? Because she asked questions like the man landing on the moon and what other planets are there. And, I was like, gosh, we never thought somebody could land on Mars because it was a fire. It was hot. And look at all that false information in this. And she's like, well, what about this? What about that?
So then you kind of go in that direction.
And I
let's do
can
that,
because we don't have all that other crap in the way. So today, one of the things she wanted to do after tennis was go to the library and get some books on Mars and planets and stuff.
That's amazing.
So we'll do that until she's bored of it.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I love this conversation. We can talk like another hour on this. And I appreciate you ladies coming to the table with your wisdom and your personal stories, because I think there's a lot of us trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? What are our options? And this is a great option if you can do it. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
I appreciate for coming.
Yeah.
Bye. Until next week. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago24_7 and on Facebook at Virago24/7, and just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.